Hello everyone! Today is January 12th, 2023, and we're going to be talking about Paladin and its rework. Now, I put out a video a few days ago regarding the rotation for a clean loop where you drop atonements after your 1-minute fight or flight window so that you can keep the same GCDs happening in the same order every time. But that's not always going to work out. You're going to have fights with downtime, or maybe you're going to forget to drop the atonements or disengage from the boss, and then you have to trade Holy Spirits. So what if we just did a rotation where we wanted to just turn our brain off, unga bunga, and do the priority system? Well, we talked about this when the servers first came up, so let's go ahead and jump into it, since ultimately, whichever rotation you do is going to be pretty close in potency anyways, whether it's going to be a priority system where you're just ensuring that your Confeteor and your Goring Blade are inside of your fight or flight window, or whether you're doing the atonement drop combo rotation, or whether you're doing the 2-minute Holy Spirit hard cast combo. You can do either of those rotations. Any of them are really going to be fine. You can also adjust this one to drop the 2 atonements after the 1-minute window, as you would with, like you did before with the clean loop, and then just do everything on cooldown until you're approaching your 6-minute window, and then drop 1 atonement. Here, we're just going to do the rotation naturally without doing anything special, no bells or whistles. So we'll do Fast Blade, and then Potion, Riot Blade, Fight or Flight, and then we'll head into Royal Authority, Wreck, and begin our burst, and just kind of put everything on cooldown from there. It's not too bad, the potency difference is minimal, and ultimately you're going to need to know where you end the fight before you decide whether things are gains or losses. So, welcome to Paladin. Here comes the pre-pull, Holy Spirit into our rotation. We'll get a countdown going and begin. Boom. We get our potion. Gonna put up our riot. Fight or flight's gonna go up here. Here's our wreck. We can begin our Confeteor. And then we can go into Goring Blade. And you don't have to do it in this order. You can put Goring Blade first if you want to. However, depending on where you end the fight, you may find out that you end the fight on Confeteor, which is a 900 potency attack versus Goring Blade. See, 900 potency here versus Goring Blade 700. So, at best, you don't end the fight that way. At worst, if you were to shift Confeteor later and you were to have Goring Blade sooner, you could have a loss. So, really doesn't matter. Do it in whichever order you feel is more natural. Some players are going to prefer pushing all of their magic buttons at once. Some won't mind shifting the Goring Blade. Additionally, you can reserve your magic attacks for if you have to disengage from the boss. So here, we have our Holy Spirit ready. We're going to go into Fight or Flight. Holy Spirit. So we save that proc, right? And Goring Blade is going to be displaced 1 GCD, which is fine. So then we're headed in, going to Royal, and then we get our hardcast Holy Spirit. I'm sorry, our buffed Holy Spirit is not a hardcast. There won't be any hardcasted Holy Spirits here unless you have to disengage from the boss and you want to keep up time and can do so. Yeah, this flexibility is nice. Just being able to go in and push things as you want is really cool. The devs actually did a really good job with creating rotations that you ultimately don't think about. And I like that. So we're approaching our 2-minute window here. So I'm going to cut... No, I'm not going to cut 2 atonements now, but I will do it later. So let's see what happens if we were not to cut any. This is where if you wanted to have a pretty good burst, you could do that. But it's not necessary. The gain is small. So we're just using our priority, our Confeteor combo, our Goring Blades all on cooldown, and then we're just headed into things. And sure, we might have some of our regular rotation in there, like our filler GCDs, our Fast Blade, our Riot Blade. That's okay. That's okay. Not a big deal. So, while we're doing our rotation, I wanted to talk today about my thoughts on Paladin. So, one of the big things that people have been asking is, do I like it better? Do I like it worse? Is Paladin in shambles? Is it saved? There's Gonna be all kinds of people who feel different ways about it. And my personal thoughts are that I prefer this Paladin. I think this Paladin is awesome. This iteration is really cool. But it's not without its gripes. And I feel as though one of my major gripes on Paladin now is that previously you would alternate between your fight or flight window and your Requiem scat window. And if you had downtime, you could adjust and just ensure that you're either popping fight or flight during downtime so that you would line your burst back up, or you would just pick up where you left off when the boss was targetable again. And that was fine. Now, if you misalign your rec window, because it's inside of your fight or flight window, if you misalign that and you push it out, that's just a loss. And then you're going to have to figure out how to realign it best throughout the rest of the fight or keep it permanently desynced. And that's not necessarily a good idea either. So, that's one of the concerns I have. One of the things I like about it is that now the rotation's relatively simple. Your burst is pretty consistent. You don't have to worry about dot management. But you might have to worry about crafting. You don't have to worry about dot management like you did before. So downtime, like the boss going away, that's not really going to be as impactful when it comes to pressing reapplications of buttons, because there really aren't any. Now it's just going to be whether or not you're going to hold stacks until the boss comes back or not, right? That's something I really like. The addition of Bulwark back into the game, causing a block, while Holy Sheltron effectively became Heart of Corundum, means that now we're just as tanky as the other tanks, and we're going to be able to hold our own with big, heavy-hitting tank busters. Divine Veil working on us, boom, nice, is a glorious change. You know, couldn't have asked for a better change. And I really feel as though this iteration of Paladin is going to be heavily enjoyable by a lot of the player base. I know I'm heavily enjoying it already, and I couldn't see myself disliking this. For a long time, I've tried to find a situation in which I'm like, yeah, Paladin is like the tank for me. I really like this. You know, I started as a warrior, and that was fantastic when I started my tanking journey. And I went, you know what? Let's try to do the other ones too. So I leveled Paladin, and I tried that a bit, and I wanted to understand because my co-tank was a Paladin. And I was like, it's kind of okay, but it feels weak. And, you know, Sentinel was a 4-minute cooldown. I'm sorry, a 3-minute cooldown for 40%. I misspoke. And Bulwark was just like, what, 60% increase to your block rate, not even 100. Wasn't that great. And then I tried Dark Knight, and I was like, Dark Knight's pretty cool. Dark Knight's pretty nice. But I never really felt that about Paladin. Obviously, when Gunbreaker came out, you all know the story. As soon as they announced that it was going to exist, I was like, that is my tank. 100%. 100%. Yoma gets a thank you very much for the 8 months of Prime. I appreciate you much, and I hope you're having a great day. You know, you've been around for a while, too, through our tanking journey. Gunbreaker was my favorite. Still is. I heavily enjoy all 4 tanks now, though. They're all in a situation where I'm like, yeah, they're pretty cool. I enjoy them. You know, they all have their deficits. Gunbreaker has a very restrictive rotation where if you have downtime or you make a mistake, it's incredibly crucial that you don't have that happen, because it can really, really hamper what you're trying to do, right? If you were to talk about which job is best for me, right? If you were like, okay, I'm a new tank. I'm going to jump into content. Which one is the easiest? I would tell you that now it's probably Paladin. And I'll tell you why. Paladin's going to have its burst window. You're just going to push your buttons. And if you just want to press them on cooldown, that's fine. And if you want to adjust things or use cast from far away, that's fine too. It's a relatively straightforward rotation. Right? Now you have your 7-part combo where you do your 1, 2, 3. You get 3 procs and a magic attack. You just press them on cooldown. That's fine. Next, I would say Warrior. Warrior was the easiest before. Now, I would say Warrior is only slightly behind Paladin. Still pretty simple. And the reason why I would say Warrior is now a little bit more difficult is if the boss goes away, you have to manage your buff. right? You're surging. Well, it's Storm's Eye buff, but it's, you know, you're surging Tempest. You have to figure out, do I refresh my eye now before the boss goes away, or how are we playing this out? In addition to that, you might overcap your your Infuriate because of inner release, or you might not. It's not too big a deal. It's pretty easy. It's not that complicated. Then I would say Dark Knight is probably the next easiest, because it's just save your mana for burst. Save your mana for burst, make sure you have a Living Shadow ready, and you're GG. And then Gunbreaker, because Gunbreaker has to generate 3 cartridges for its burst windows so that it can use Double Down, and that doesn't feel that great. Although, user experience is going to vary. Gunbreaker came very naturally to me because I play Gunbreaker. So for me, it wasn't that bad. I just feel like in terms of ease of access for new players now, starting your adventure as a Paladin, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice at all. And this is pretty much Paladin. Now, as you can see, I have shifted my Goring Blade forward, but it's still okay, right? I'm still gonna get it to come up now. Although if the fight were to die on that GCD, shifting it to the end would have been the play, so that you can get that 900 potency attack. You know, and that's Paladin. So if you want, now what we can do is we can set up our window to break into the atonement dropping for our burst. Although I think I'll make that a separate video entirely. This one, I just wanted to talk about Paladin a little bit, talk about how I feel it plays now. I think it's going to be way more defensive. I think it's in a really, really good spot. It's going to be a pleasure to prog with. It's going to be a pleasure to play alongside one. They're not at a deficit where they're just missing a cooldown now. And the fact that you can double up your Holy Sheltron, right? This falls off. You effectively have Heart of Corundum twice in a very fast period of time if you need it. Or there's also Intervention in conjunction with Holy Sheltron. Not a big deal. I really like that. So in our next Paladin video, we will go over this standard rotation while dropping atonements. If you want to do it at home, all you're doing is dropping 2 atonements before the 2-minute window to set up your buffed Holy Spirit set, like you already do with the clean loop, and then just put everything on cooldown as it's coming up. And right before your 6-minute window, drop 1 more atonement, and you'll be good. The reason I say this is because if you don't, you're going to end up in windows where you will get the nice Holy Spirit buff for some of the fighter flights, but your 2-minute and your 6-minute aren't necessarily going to be ideal because you're going to have raid buffs, and you're going to be putting in Fast Blades and Riot Blades. And the 6-minute window is one that you really don't want to do that on, right? Because that's typically your reopener with your potion. So if you can set that up to be a big bursty window, you know, even if it's just atonements and you don't get 2 Holy Spirits in it that are buffed, even just getting the atonements instead of your filler combo is going to be a fantastic game. And if you get 12 GCDs under potion, and it happens to be buffed Holy Spirit, your Confiteor combo, right? Now you're at 5. You get your Goring Blade, that's 6. Royal Authority, then you get another buffed Holy Spirit. Now you're at 8. Atonement, now you're at 11. And then 12 will be a Fast Blade. So sure, you're going to miss a Riot Blade out there, and you do get a Fast Blade in, but that's going to be such a big potion window. So that's my personal thoughts on Paladin as it stands. I'm still a fan of the clean loop rotation. I think it's going to depend on preference of the player. Do you like to just push glowing buttons as they show up? Do you like a structured loop? We've had people who prefer both. There's the hard-casted Holy Spirit. I really don't think it's going to be that great. I don't think it's going to be preferred, and it's probably the most difficult one to manage, right? Because you're doing unorthodox things. As opposed to just skipping buttons that you have to add buttons in. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the best way to go. Also, Megetza, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate you very much, and I look forward to what you guys think about Paladin. Really do any of them. If I like to turn my brain off, I'm just doing this rotation. I'm just gonna do this. This is what I did during the 24-player alliance. I just kind of went at it and pushed things as they were up. We disengaged a lot for the bosses on mechanics and clemencied a whole lot. So really, you're just pushing things on cooldown anyways. If you want to do the clean loop where you're dropping 2 atonements, you can do that too. Just bear in mind that if you have to make adjustments, it's not clean anymore. The loop will be broken. You'll have to change that. So at that point, it's not a loop anymore. But full uptime, you can go for it if you want. Absolutely. It's probably what I'll be doing still when I want to have a full uptime fight where nothing changes. But if there is a fight where I'm not sure what to do, I'm just going to use it all on cooldown, and we're just going to have fun with it. Okay? So that's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much, and our new video will be again tomorrow. Remember, a new video every single day of the year. That's all I really got to say. I'll be here next time. Will you?